Okay, so we've talked about footprinting and using Nmap to see what's on a network. But here's the real question.
Look, most people, even some in IT, use these terms like they're the same thing. And let me tell you, that's a surefire way to bomb a VAPT job interview. They are not the same, not even close. And we're about to break down exactly why it matters so much.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to smash the biggest misconception out there. Then, I've got a super simple analogy, the inspector and the burglar, that will make the difference click for good. After that, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty details, look at a real-world breach, and finally, wrap up with how you can use all this to launch your own career. All right, first up, you see VAPT on job postings all the time, right? Vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. But don't let that grouping fool you. They are fundamentally different exercises. They have different goals, they produce different reports, and they answer completely different questions for a business.
To really get this, let's step away from the keyboard for a second. Let's think about your home security. And to do that, we're going to bring in two characters, a security inspector and an ethical burglar. So, the security inspector, that's your vulnerability assessment. This person shows up with a massive clipboard and a long, detailed checklist. They walk around your house methodically, they check every single window, jiggle every doorknob, they'll make a note, yep, the back door is unlocked, the alarm system looks like it's from the 90s, and the motion sensor battery is dead. Their job isn't to break in, it's to give you a comprehensive list of every single thing that could go wrong. And then you have the ethical burglar. That's your penetration tester. This person, they couldn't care less about a checklist. Their one and only goal is to get into your house and get to the safe in your office. They'll walk right past the heavily locked front door, but they'll spot that one unlocked back door instantly. They see the GED motion sensor and realize it gives them a perfect blind path right to their target. And boom, they're in.
And that's the absolute heart of it. The inspector is like an automated scanner. Think of a tool like Nessus, working its way through a giant list of known problems. The burglar, on the other hand, is the human pentester. They use creativity to chain those individual weaknesses together, the unlocked door plus the dead sensor, to prove that a real break-in is not just possible, but easy. One finds problems, the other proves they can be used to cause real damage.
So if you remember just one thing from all this, make it this. A vulnerability assessment gives you a long list of what could be a problem. A penetration test proves which of those problems are actually dangerous. It's all about demonstrating real-world impact.
Okay, now that the analogy is locked in, let's pop the hood and get into the technical details of these two very different approaches.
So a vulnerability assessment, or VA for short, is pretty much an automated process. You'll fire up a tool like Nessus, which is the industry standard, or maybe a free open source one called OpenVAS. These tools scan your entire network and they compare everything they find, every service, every software version, every configuration, against a massive database of known security flaws.
And that database? It's all built around something called CVEs. That stands for Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. The easiest way to think of a CVE is like a unique serial number or a fingerprint for one specific, publicly known security weakness. It's how we all talk about the same bug.
But here's the thing. Not all CVEs are created equal, right? A small typo on a website isn't the same as a flaw that lets someone take over your whole server. That's where CVSS comes in. The Common Vulnerability Scoring System is an industry standard that gives every CVE a score, from 0 to 10. A 10 is basically a fire alarm, drop everything and fix this now kind of vulnerability. It helps teams figure out what to patch first.
So to sum up a VA, it's fast, it's broad, and it's almost entirely automated. Its job is to find known problems, the things that are already in that CVE database. You'll get a huge report back, sometimes with hundreds of findings. That's why companies run them all the time, like every month or every quarter, often for compliance reasons like PCI DSS.
And then you have the penetration test, or pentest. In so many ways, it's the polar opposite. This is a manual, creative, and deeply human-driven process. The goal isn't just to find a list of flaws. The goal is to actively exploit them, to chain them together, and to simulate what a real attacker would actually do to achieve a specific objective.
Now, these tests come in three main flavors. A black box test is where the pen tester starts with nothing, just the company's name, like a real external attacker. In a gray box test, they get a little bit of information, maybe a regular user account, to simulate what a disgruntled employee could do. And in a white box test, they get the keys to the kingdom, source code, architecture diagrams, everything, for the deepest dive possible. The key features here are a world away from a VA.
A pen test is slow and deep. It can take weeks. It's all about manual skill and creative thinking. This is how you find complex attack paths or business logic flaws that an automated scanner would be totally blind to. And the report you get is in a giant list of CVEs. It's a focused story, a narrative that explains exactly how a breach happened. Because it's so intensive, it's done less often, maybe once a year.
Okay, let's put it all on one screen, side by side. The purpose of a VA is to find vulnerabilities. The purpose of a pen test is to exploit them. A VA gives you a list of issues. A pen test gives you proof of impact. And that one core difference drives everything else: the cost, how often you do it, and what kind of report you get at the end of the day.
Theory's great, but let's see how this plays out in a real-world scenario. This is where you see exactly why a pen tester is so valuable.
So, get this. Recent research found that about 31% of Amazon S3 buckets, that's a popular cloud storage service, are just publicly accessible. Now, a vulnerability scanner will find this no problem. It'll flag it, give it a CVSS score, and put it in the report. And for the VA, that's job done.
But a pen tester looks at that finding and asks, okay, and? They start digging. And inside that public bucket, they find a little configuration file where a developer accidentally hard-coded their cloud access credentials. An automated scanner would almost certainly miss that. But with those credentials, the pen tester can now log into the cloud environment, find a way to escalate their privileges, and pivot until they access the company's production database. The VA found a leaky bucket. The pen test proved that leaky bucket could lead to a catastrophic data breach. See the difference?
Now, in the professional world, we have a common language to describe these attacker behaviors. It's called the MITRE ATT&CK framework. You can think of it as a massive, globally accessible encyclopedia of every known attacker tactic, technique, and procedure, all based on real-world observations. It's the PRO's playbook.
So if we map our example to this framework, the vulnerability assessment, the act of running that scan, falls under reconnaissance. You're just looking around. But the pen tester's actions, using that leaked credential to get in, that falls under initial access. It's the difference between scouting the castle walls and actually climbing over them. So why have we gone so deep on this distinction? It's simple. Understanding this inside and out is exactly how you get hired in this field.
VAPT jobs are some of the most common cyber roles you'll find listed. Now, if you're looking at certifications, the CEH, or Certified Ethical Hacker, is great for the theory behind both VA and pen testing. But the OSCP, the Offensive Security Certified Professional, that is pure, hands-on, manual pen testing. They don't even let you use most automated tools. And the best part? You can start practicing right now. You can download OpenVAS for free and start scanning. And platforms like Hack the Box Academy have free modules to get you started with VA.
So as you build your skills and your career, always come back to this one question. It's one thing to run a scanner and find a flaw. It's another thing entirely to have the mindset and the skill to prove that flaw is fatal. That's the difference between an assessment and a test, and that's the heart of thinking like an attacker.